Do the big funny.
So I have it. I don't
Yes,
have...
you have it.
Wait, does he?
Oh yeah, I
Do
did.
the big funny.
Oh yeah, Galaxy.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's never mind. It's no big funny. Big Hey everyone, this is Curb and I bring you another history match. Today we have a matchup that we haven't quite seen yet. We've got Novas on the left, and on the right we actually have Kagero once again. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how these two Q4 clans that have substantial support in comparison to a lot of the other clans, actually fare when going up against each other. So now we are seeing Novas doing a bit of rushing here, calling down a Clay Doll mechanic in order to attack the Vanguard. Going to be pushing Kagero to 2, which is not entirely terrible because 2 Counter Blast does mean that you have access to a lot of interesting skills here. We did actually make a little bit of a miscalculation. We were trying to go for a very funny play because Kagero does have access to 2 superior rides. So if you have 2 CB as well as a grade 2 and one of the other pieces, you can actually ride to grade 3 automatically from the deck just by using Conroe's skill to search out whatever piece you're missing. Here we're going to be searching out the Iron Tail Dragon, completely forgetting that there is actually a third piece, the Gatling Claw Dragon, which we actually don't have access to right now, but as we'll see, that's not going to be a huge problem. So Conroe just going to be searching out that Iron Tail Dragon. Unfortunately, we cannot use the skill, the Blazing Core Dragon, because it does cost... we would be able to use it if we had the Gatling Claw because it just does cost 1 CB, but unfortunately, we are not going to be able to do that right up. But, you know, we can still have a grade 2 turn. Looks like we are just going to be swinging at the rear guard, which is definitely a... valid play, considering that Novas is a deck that requires CB for a decent amount of things. This kind of is denying the Brutal Jack ride, so they can't just ride up into Brutal Jack, because if they do, they won't be able to counterblast 1 in order to actually attack. Looks like we did guard the Clay Doll mechanic, and I believe we're just going to be riding a Kirara there, so going to be able to hit. Interestingly enough, I have kind of been wondering about this myself, whether it is worth it to call the 10k shields just to have extra aggression on board. But as we'll see, it kind of makes an impact here because we did actually hit a defensive there. But unfortunately, that 1 to pass is going to be actually hit with a stand trigger, standing the Green Girl Clara there. But obviously it's not going to be able to because we had to give the power to the Vanguard. So actually riding into the Dragon, Knight Alpeph having the bar as well as the tar in hand is going to allow us to counterblast 1 and superior ride from the deck. Embodiment of Victory Alf, or Alph, I suppose is his real name. I just want to call him Alf because I don't know, I guess I'm a 90s kid. That was a popular show. I don't think in the 90s, but nobody remembers that. Throw a like on this video if you remember Alf. Very merchandisable character that I always remember seeing around when I was a kid. Anyways, we are going to be doing something really interesting here, calling the Iron Tail Dragon and using its skill twice in order to give it an extra 2k power, meaning it is actually going to be able to hit this grade 2 Vanguard. Then we're going to be using the Embodiment of Victory Alf skill to Soul Blast the Dragon Knight Alph, the Embodiment of Spear Tar, and the Embodiment of Armor Bar in order to countercharge 4. Which is definitely something we don't see in Vanguard today. But looks like we are actually also going to be using the skill of Alph to Counter Blast 4. I think like the only Counter Blast 4 ability in the game, in order to give Alph an extra not even 5k, 3k power and an extra critical. So we're going to be swinging 13 for 2 damage. In all honesty, we could like 2k, and that's a 2 to pass here. But looks like we probably don't have it, so we're just going to be taking it. And we're at 1 damage, so it's not a huge deal as we hit 2 defensive triggers here, meaning that this Blazing Core Dragon is going to just have to swing at the Clara. So, in all honesty, probably would have been a lot better in hand. But at the same time, in this format, you do kind of need 2 CBs to have access to a lot of your strong skills, like this Lion Heat that we're going to be being ridden over here, riding over that Kirara. If its attack hits, we will be able to CB2 and restand one of our rear guards, but it's looking like that probably might not be something that's going to be happening. Calling down a Battle Riser kind of just puts some more pressure on that Vanguard, and calling down the Twin Blader, which is very interesting. I mean, it does represent a boost, and you are trying to close things out here. Your opponent is at 4, so kind of putting as much power as you can on board is not at all a bad idea. And honestly, if you just keep a PG in hand, it's not really doing that much, because you do need another card. Battle Riser skill does actually activate at the end of turn, and swing for a very nice magic number here of 20. Barely having enough to guard. That last card is just going to be a Blockade Inferno there. Oh no, it's not Blockade Inferno, it's just Blockade. I always want to say Blockade Inferno, but that's the cross ride. But yeah, let's see. We do have that special intercept and the blockade. We could ride the blockade, but there's really no reason to, in all honesty. We might as well keep it just in case we need another attacker later, because our opponent doesn't have access to any intercepts, so it's effectively doing nothing. But our opponent only has 3 cards in hand, but we still have to deal 3 damage, meaning that all 3 of these attacks would have to go through. And we've got a 10k, a 10k, and a 15k. The 15k is really the only threatening column here. So going to be swinging with the rear guard first, because we do actually play stand triggers. Kind of deciding that I guess we can't take out our opponent this turn, so we're just going to opt to swing at the rear guard, which is definitely a valid play in this format, because on one hand, grade 3s make easy rear guards to call, but at the same time, you do run out of resources in this game, and you do end up having to call like weaker stuff in order to actually make things hit. But that Burger is actually going to be connecting, pushing Nova Grapplers to 5, so it's looking like this might be Nova Grappler's last shot to actually close things out. The fact that our opponent did heal means that we do have actually access to hitting with that Lion Heat and restanding, and we do also have another on-hit threatened here, using Hirara's skill, swinging for that 16, which is a nice magic number. Just going to be committing the special intercept, maybe. We actually don't have a ton of cards in hand. I think we have that heal trigger, and we drove check. I think it was like a grade 2. So theoretically, we have enough here, because we do have to actually guard the Vanguard swing. So we're going to intercept with that Burger there. Going to be swinging at the Vanguard. We do kind of have to block this up in all instances. A 10k is going to be a 1 to pass. As long as they don't get a critical trigger, we should be fine to take this last swing, as we are going to be actually guarding for a 2 to pass. First check is going to be nothing. Second check also going to be a nothing. So this Lion Heat can swing at the Vanguard, but that's not going to be enough to finish it. And of course, you could theoretically use the rear guard skill of Lion Heat, but unfortunately, Lion Heat can only restand in grade 1 or less. And it does actually have to hit a Vanguard, so we're not actually going to be able to use it here. But taking out that rear guard definitely does make a lot of sense here. Now we're actually going to be riding into the blockade, which is definitely valid because our opponent does have access to a intercept there, so we are closing out an extra 5k, so they had 15k in total, because we do know the 2 cards in hand, and we kind of just cut that off, so they're kind of forced to just do a 1 to pass here, as we're going to get a stand trigger here, giving all the effects to the Vanguard, and hitting another stand trigger. But that is going to be the end of the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.